It's February 19th, 2013. We're in the US, in downtown Los Angeles, at a hotel called the Cecil. This 14-story building sits near the edge of Skid Row, a run-down, crime-ridden part of the city. The Cecil is cheap, cramped, and falling apart. It's no Marriott, but guests here aren't expecting much either. Lately, though, something's been off, even for this place. Over the past couple of weeks, guests have been complaining about the water. Their showers aren't working properly. At times, the taps on their sinks and bathtubs are letting out only a trickle. When the water actually does come out, it smells bad. And when guests drink it or brush their teeth with it, it tastes awful. Employees at the hotel cafe and kitchen agree. The water is unusable. Frankly, disgusting. And the worst thing, more recently, the water has even started coming out black. That's why today hotel management is finally taking action. Santiago Lopez, a maintenance worker, has been sent up to the roof to check the 4 water tanks that supply the hotel. And right away, he sees the problem. One of the hatches on the water tank is open. Lopez climbs up the 10-foot ladder of the 1,000-gallon tank and peers inside. As his eyes adjust to the darkness, he freezes. Something moves into view. It's a woman's face, and it's staring back at him from inside the tank. She's naked, just floating there in the water, and predictably, she's dead. It looks like she's been that way for a while, too. Her body is a greenish, purplish colour, her abdomen is bloated, and her skin is peeling off, dissolving into the murky water surrounding her. At that moment, Lopez realises the smell, the taste, the colour. For weeks, guests at the Cecil Hotel have been drinking this water, bathing in it, cooking with it, and all along, a woman's body had been rotting inside. When the authorities turn up, they try to drag the woman out of the hatch, but the opening is too small. Things would get too messy. So, instead, they cut a hole in its side to drain the water and then remove her body. There, sitting at the bottom, are the woman's clothes and a room key, meaning that she was a guest at the very hotel she died in. But by now, everybody knows who she is. This is Elisa Lam, a 21-year-old Canadian student who vanished from the Cecil 19 days ago. Now, tragically, she's been found. Her death is immediately treated as suspicious. She was naked after all, and her body was hidden away in the last place that anybody would think to look. Yet the autopsy would soon throw everything into question. The coroners can't find any sign of a struggle. Elisa Lam's body has no injuries, not even a bruise, and there's no evidence that she was attacked. Police can't find any incriminating fingerprints or marks around the top of the hotel. But at the same time, there's no sign that Elisa took her own life either. There are no illegal drugs in her blood, only a trace amount of alcohol, and there's certainly no evidence of an overdose, which might have been someone's first thought for a hotel guest on Skid Row. So, how did she die? Well, there have been many theories over the years, but all of them circle back to one key piece of evidence. This video. A haunting clip of Elisa Lam captured by the hotel CCTV just moments before she vanished. This video would prove one thing even after Lam's body was found, that there was a lot more to this mystery than anyone could have imagined. It all began on January 26, 2013, when Elisa Lam checked into the Cecil Hotel. She'd come to LA by train from San Diego on her way to Santa Cruz. She was in the middle of a solo trip around the west coast of the US, taking a break from her studies at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. But more than just a holiday, this was Elisa's first real taste of independence, a chance to prove that she could take care of herself. Her parents, David and Yinna, had been nervous about her travelling alone for the first time, but Eliza promised to check in with them every day. Eventually, wanting to give their daughter the freedom she was craving, they agreed to let her go. Little did they know that they would never see her alive again. By the time that Eliza reached the Cecil Hotel, strange things had already started happening, and she was responsible for them. She'd originally booked a shared room on the 5th floor, but after just 2 nights, her roommates complained about her. Lam had been acting strangely, leaving cryptic notes around the room and saying unsettling things to the other guests. We still don't know exactly what happened during her stay there, but it was enough for hotel staff to move her to a private room, and on Skid Row, that's saying something. Around the same time, Eliza also showed up to a live taping of the Conan O'Brien show, only to be escorted out for disturbing behaviour. Again, the exact details were never released, but whatever happened, it was serious enough to get her removed from the audience. Then came January 31st, the day that she was supposed to check out, but Eliza never left. When she stopped calling home, her parents raised the alarm. Police searched the hotel and found her wallet, ID and laptop, all left behind in her room. They even brought sniffer dogs up to the roof, all without realising that Eliza's body was floating just feet away inside a water tank. What the police did find, however, was the video. In a desperate bid for answers about Lam's whereabouts, the LAPD released this video to the public, and it went viral, picking up tens of millions of views. It's security footage of Eliza in the elevator of the Cecil Hotel, recorded just hours before she went missing, and, quite frankly, it's disturbing to watch. She's wearing the red hoodie and black shorts that will be found in the bottom of the water tank weeks later, and she's acting in a way that nobody, even to this day, fully understands. In the video, Eliza steps inside the elevator and presses multiple floor buttons, and then the elevator doors refuse to close behind her. There's nothing in their way, nothing blocking them, and there's nobody outside, at least in view of the camera. Eliza steps towards the entrance and peers outside, almost like she's checking to see if someone's following her or forcing the doors open. Suddenly, she jumps back into the elevator and hides. You can see she's scared. She stands straight back against the wall, tucked away behind the control panel, as if something awful is coming down the corridor. And all the while, the elevator doors stay firmly open. But it's when Elisa Lam finally steps out of the elevator again that things become really strange. She starts moving her hands. It's completely unnatural. Her gestures are sharp and twitchy, like she's casting a spell or arguing with someone that we can't see. And then she clasps her hands together like she's pleading to someone, just out of shot. Finally, Eliza walks out of the elevator and vanishes, never to be seen again. Only then, right after she leaves, after 4 whole minutes of video, do the elevator doors finally close. It's as if someone had been holding them open that whole time. When the video went viral and Lam was eventually found dead, the internet exploded with theories. People scrutinized every frame, every movement. Was Eliza really alone? Some people believed that Lam was being threatened off-camera, that she was hiding from someone who never appears in the frame. After all, investigators found that it would have been incredibly difficult for Lam to get herself into the water tank. The roof was off limits to guests, according to the hotel, protected by a lock and a working alarm, which no one heard go off. There were fire escapes leading up to the roof, so it's possible that Lam used those, but even then she would have had to climb a ladder attached to the side of the tank and then lift a 20-pound metal lid and crawl inside. And why would she then strip naked? The whole process seemed too elaborate for Eliza to have been acting alone. But if she was murdered, what exactly happened? Well, here's where the theories range from the unlikely to the completely wild. Some people believe that Eliza's case is supernatural. Internet detectives pointed to strange details in the elevator footage, a shadow moving across the frame, Eliza's bizarre hand movements, the way the doors refused to close. To some, it looked like she was communicating with a dark presence. One theory links her behaviour to an urban legend called the Korean elevator game. This so-called game comes with a long list of rules on how to reach a new dimension by going to certain floors in an elevator. But there's a catch. You have to press the right buttons, and on one floor a ghostly woman may appear, but the story goes that you mustn't look at or speak to her. Some wondered whether Eliza was trying out this urban legend for herself. She did, after all, press multiple floor buttons as soon as she entered. But others claimed that the Eliza we see in the footage is, in fact, already dead, and that's why the doors didn't close, because the elevator simply didn't see her ghost. We will, of course, leave the supernatural theories to your imagination, and instead, let's take a look at some more realistic possibilities for the death of Elisa Lam. So first up, was she murdered? One explanation for Lam's weird behaviour in the video was that she was talking to her killer off-screen, and pretty soon, internet detectives found a suspect, a musician named Pablo Vergara, who performed under the stage name Morbid. Just days after Eliza's body was discovered, Vergara posted a video online promoting his band's new song. It was filmed from a room inside the Cecil Hotel where Vergara had been staying. To make things worse, the song was called Died in Pain, and its lyrics described a woman drowning. Online, that was enough to spark outrage. People were convinced he was the killer. Everything added up, after all, except for one crucial detail. Vergara wasn't even in the country when Lam died. He was actually in Mexico at the time, recording an album. In a Netflix documentary about Elisa Lam, Vergara revealed just how painful the accusations were for him. He said, "I received death threats every day. There was no escape. I tried to take my life and woke up in a psychiatric hospital." But if you think that the coincidence with Vergara was a big one, then we need to take a look at the hotel itself, because as it turns out, the Cecil has quite a blood-stained past. Sitting on the edge of LA's Skid Row, an area notorious for poverty, crime, and homelessness, the hotel had long served as a cheap and often desperate shelter for its guests. Inside the walls had been many overdoses, suicides, and grisly murders dating all the way back to its opening in 1927. But the real horror was in the names associated with these deaths. In 1985, serial killer Richard Ramirez, known as the Night Stalker, apparently stayed on the top floor of the Cecil while carrying out at least 15 brutal home invasion murders. According to the stories, Ramirez would come back to the hotel after killing his victims, strip off his bloodied clothes, and walk through the lobby half naked. By then, however, the place had fallen into such disrepair that no one even blinked. Then, in 1991, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger, also called the Vienna Strangler, also stayed at the hotel. Unterweger had just been released from prison after one murder and had rebranded himself as a writer, journalist, and public figure. During his stay at the Cecil, however, he started killing again. Unterweger murdered at least 3 sex workers in LA using the same method he had in Austria, by strangling them with their own bras. Even back in 1947, the aspiring actress Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia, was apparently seen drinking at the Cecil Hotel's bar just days before her body was found, mutilated and abandoned in a vacant lot. Overall, dozens of deaths have been reported in or around the Cecil Hotel, some natural, others not. Amy Price, the general manager from 2007 to 2017, said she witnessed 80 deaths during her time there. The Cecil's dark history has inspired plenty in the way of pop culture too, from video games to TV series. It even inspired a season of American Horror Story, where Lady Gaga plays a vampire living in a haunted hotel. So, with all this in mind, could it have been someone within the hotel that played a part in Elisa Lam's death? That's what many people began to wonder after watching the elevator video. Some noticed that the timestamp is blurry and unreadable, and at one point the elevator door suddenly jumps. Some claim that the footage has been slowed down or even cut, with as much as 53 seconds apparently missing. The culprit, in their eyes, must have been someone from the hotel. Others even pointed fingers at the police. Either way, somewhere along the line, they say, someone had been covering up the facts. And as the case unravelled online and years passed, more and more bizarre coincidences began cropping up. One of them was that the last place Elisa Lam was seen alive in person, the last bookstore in downtown LA, shares the same postcode as the grounds where she's buried in Vancouver. People also made comparisons with the 2005 Japanese horror remake Dark Water. In the film, a young girl's body is discovered in a rooftop water tank after residents complain of dark, foul-smelling water. Even the girl's name in the movie is Cecilia, not unlike the Cecil Hotel. Given the Cecil's bloody history and the sheer number of strange events and coincidences surrounding the case, it's really easy to fall down a kind of rabbit hole, and it's tempting to believe that Elisa Lam was killed, and that someone covered it up, that the hotel's curse claimed yet another victim. But it's not quite that simple. To this day, nobody has found solid evidence that anybody harmed Elisa. Instead, there's now one theory that most people now believe, including the coroner and the courts, and it doesn't involve ghosts, serial killers, or conspiracies. Perhaps that's what makes it all so tragic. Elisa Lam had serious mental health issues. She was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression years before her trip. She was on medication, including antidepressants, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotics. But still, she was struggling. Lam often wrote about her mental health on her Tumblr blog. She was frustrated. She wanted to live a life full of life, but she felt like her mind was holding her back. At one point she wrote, "No matter how much I feel, I'm not going to let it out. If my heart starts going crazy, I'm not going to tell everyone in the world about it. It doesn't help anything. It just makes everyone's life worse." After her death, the toxicology report showed that Elisa had some of her usual medications in her system, but not all of them. What's more, the meds that they did find weren't at full dosage, and this was a major red flag. Investigators compared the levels in her body with the pills left behind in her room, and it looked like Elisa had been skipping doses. It's entirely possible, people online have said, that she ditched her meds to feel normal on her trip around the West Coast. But later, it came out that while Elisa had never tried to take her own life, she had gone missing once before. More importantly, these happened during times when she had stopped taking her medication. And when that happened, she experienced intense hallucinations and sometimes even hid under her bed in fear. On at least one occasion, it was serious enough that she had to be taken to hospital. And all this brings us back to her behaviour, the cryptic notes that she was leaving and the elevator footage. Could all of it have been the result of a manic or psychotic episode? Antidepressants, when used to treat bipolar, can sometimes trigger manic episodes if not carefully managed. Perhaps it's the most likely explanation, and the saddest one, too. In the end, the coroner ruled Elisa Lam's death an accidental drowning, with her bipolar disorder as a significant contributing factor. A few months after Elisa's body was found, her parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the hotel. Their lawyer argued that the Cecil had a responsibility to check for any dangers that could put guests at risk, but the hotel pushed back, saying there was no way they could have predicted someone would get into the rooftop water tanks. For the police, though, Elisa's death was case closed. As part of the lawsuit, Detective Wallace Tennell gave a deposition. He said, quote, "My opinion is that Elisa Lam fell off her medication, and in her state, she happened to find her way onto the roof and get into the tank of water. My partner and I tried to figure out how someone could have put her in there, and it's difficult for someone to have been able to do that and not leave prints, not leave DNA, or anything like that. So she climbed in on her own." Santiago Lopez, the maintenance worker who found Elisa's body, backed up the idea that it would have been extremely difficult for anyone else to place her in the tank and then get away with it. But more than a decade later, the internet still isn't satisfied. Some believe the official story doesn't quite add up. How could a manic episode lead to something so strange, so elaborate? And there are also so many bizarre coincidences and overlapping threads in this case that we may never know if any of them truly meant something or if they were all just red herrings. In the eyes of the law, though, Elisa's death was self-inflicted, a tragic result of what happens when serious mental health issues aren't managed or medicated properly. But still, if you strip away all the noise, the theories, the conspiracies, and the coincidences, you're only left with one truth. Elisa Lam was a young woman in crisis. She was alone, without any real support, battling severe mental illness. And of course, she was a daughter, deeply mourned by those who loved her.